Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, Business Innovator Radio listeners. This is your host, Andy Curry, and I am so excited today to have with me Sheila Robinson. Now, Sheila has been speaking for 18 years, and her content is fascinating to me. I can't wait to talk about it. And it is implementation for a better life. Can't we all use that? Now, she speaks in the U.S. She is based out of New Jersey. She has written 4 books and just recently released her most current book called They're Not Coming. When I say there, I mean like they are not. So it is They're Not Coming. And Sheila, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I'm fired up to have you here. Now, tell me about your speaking business.
I'm fired up to be here. Thank you.
Tell me about your speaking business. Who do you talk to when you give talks? What are you doing for them?
Okay. I'm happy to share more with you, and thanks so much for having me on your show.
You bet.
My speaking business, I've been around for about 18 years. And I talk to a lot of different audiences. I speak at various women conferences, the corporate world. From time to time, the university or college will reach out to me. And I talk about motivation that moves you into implementation, which is key because most of us have a lot of knowledge. We know the stuff, we know the steps, but why am I not doing it? So that's really my focus, is how to implement.
Okay, now you had mentioned to me prior to the interview, yours isn't just motivation, it goes beyond that.
Yes.
So talk about that. Why does it go beyond it? What do you mean by that? How is that different?
Well, when I say it goes beyond the motivation, I think most of us can relate to reading a book and we're really charged up after, or we attend a conference or a seminar and it's like, oh, that was amazing. And then, 24 to 48 hours later, that emotion and that enthusiasm dulls. And that's really where the strategy piece comes in. And I spend a lot of time in my talks talking about strategy and exactly what you can do so you don't lose that momentum, setting up a system for yourself after the event or after the talk or after you read the book so you can immediately go into implementation mode. And that's really the piece. It's really the missing link for a lot of folks. At least it was for me.
I agree. You go listen to a speech and it knocks you off your feet. The dopamine kicks in. You walk away thinking, man, I'm going to go home and change my life. But life gets in the way. So what's the secret to getting people to do it? What's the secret to getting people to do it? Well,
one of the things, I'll share with you one of the recommendations that I give folks in my audience. So instead of sitting in a seminar or reading a book in a passive way, pull in your technology to help you reinforce what you've learned. So one of the things that I tell people to do immediately after the seminar, give yourself no longer than 24 hours. You take those key points, and you've got a wonderful function on your smartphone, which is the voice recording function, okay? You highlight those key points. It's not going to take you more than a minute or two to highlight the key points that you want to retain from the program. And for a period of 10 days, first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, just hit play. And that's going to center your focus on the implementation piece. So you can imagine 10 days goes by, and repetition is a key to success and consistency. You've heard your key messages, so you're centered as you start the day. So I talk to people about very specific tools and strategies, things that you can do to actually reinforce what you've learned and start doing the information and not just listening to it and it goes somewhere, in a file in the back of your mind.
Now, you and I both know, even though that is available, a lot of people still aren't going to do it. So do you offer some kind of a coaching thing as a follow-up?
I do. They do have an option at the end of all of my seminars and workshops to, receive that ongoing motivation and coaching. And I do that in an audio format. So you actually get to hear my voice, just at the click of a button, reinforcing and urging you to implement. And once people actually start putting things into action, I really urge them to connect to that feeling that you have of accomplishment, expand on that, build on that. So there's lots of different things that people can do, and I'm really there as a voice in the backdrop urging them on.
Sheila, I think you should invent a little Sheila doll they can put in their pocket, and it goes off every 2 hours, and it says, "Get after it," or whatever it says.
I'm actually working on an app right now, so that's not too far off. I'll keep you posted.
Okay. Now, how did you get started in the speaking business? Did you start out talking about this, or did it morph into this?
No, I didn't start out talking about this at all. I started some years ago just talking to college students for free. And I realized that, through talking to them and some feedback I received and also a lot of personal growth and development, all those years back, that this is really what I wanted to do. This is how I wanted to affect change in the world. Anytime there's a platform with a meaningful message, you do have an opportunity to shape lives. So it really happened quite by accident. It was just something I wanted to do to inspire people, and it snowballed, and I'm grateful for it.
When you give talks, I'm sure that I can tell you're passionate about it, and I'm sure you've really made an impact on your audiences. What one event jumps out at you when I say, which event was it that really stands out where you made the most impact? What was that?
Let me think here. There's been so many memorable moments. Okay, one that really stand out, I was doing an event for America's SBDC. And
what is SBDC?
That's the Small Business Development Centers.
Okay.
American Small Business Development Centers. And a young lady came up to me after I spoke. Actually, I was finishing up in the restroom, and she was in tears. And I said, what's going on? And she said, I really was not going to come. I wasn't going to come today. But what you said made such a difference for me. I know I need to change things. I need to walk away from the situation. She was in a bad situation, work-wise, personal-wise. Gave her my card. She followed up with a very long letter a couple weeks later. And just based on that talk that she heard, she packed her bags, moved across the country, and changed her life. So that really sticks in my mind. Again, it's just the power of a platform and sharing a message.
Do you know where she's at today in her life? Is she very happy now?
Last I heard, she was doing great. I know that she's in California. That's the last I heard. I pray she's doing okay, but she said it was just a necessary change, and the talk kind of gave her the inspiration and courage. So that was something that was very gratifying, and again, more motivation for me.
Well, shoot, to affect a change just with your words, and it makes a positive impact on people. Isn't that really what you're trying to do?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. And sometimes, I firmly believe that, every speaker, every communicator, it's, God's divine plan. There's an audience that only you can reach. There's something that only you can say in a particular way that's going to reach a particular audience. So, we need as many voices as we can out here to uplift, encourage, and motivate folks.
Yeah, I would agree. Now let's talk about your book. They're not coming. Who is
not, I'm coming, but
who is they?
I played with that title for a while, and I came up with that title because so many of the folks I had met with, clients I have worked with over the years, were positioning themselves as waiting for someone to give them permission to follow a dream, waiting for someone to validate them, to say, you're good, you're great, you're going to be fine. And I think because of the culture that we're living in today, there's a lot of disconnect in our communities, in our relationships. I think if you position yourself that way, waiting, you're in a very dangerous spot, and you could be waiting a long time. So hence the title, They're Not Coming. You have to wake up, understand that, realize that, and take action in your life in meaningful ways.
That's profound, because, I think, too, even if they do come, like in a form of a parent, hey, you're smart, get after. A lot of times people still don't heed that, and they look for more validation.
That's right. That's exactly right. And validation, don't get me wrong. I certainly love it. Most people do. But, you have to love it, but not look for it. And you really have to be able to get into a quiet space within your life and within yourself and know that you're okay. And if you don't feel that you're okay, figure out what is going on so that you can heal, and you're not looking to everyone and everything else to give you permission to start living your life and doing what you came here to do. So you're right.
I suspect you experienced that yourself, and you made your breakthrough, and that's what your book is based on. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. I don't know if you read it, but that is absolutely.
I have not,
nailed it.
But
you nailed it.
So you have overcome adversities like anybody else.
You nailed it.
What adversity sticks out in your mind that you overcame? What's the first? You like anybody else will have several, but what's one that you overcame that you really feel good about?
I will tell you, I think the biggest obstacle that I cleared that has allowed me to do this work is tapping into my purpose. My background is not the best. There was a lot of disconnect and discord in my family. And I think, like a lot of people, when you grow up where there's not a lot of validation and connection, you come out into the world very unsure and very shaky. So it took a long time to really cultivate my voice. And I'm not talking about the voice I used to speak with, but my inner voice, a sense of understanding what I am, who I am, what I'm here to do, despite those messages early on that you're not going to be able to do anything, you're not going to be able to achieve and accomplish what you set out to do. So lots of struggle and adversity internally. And in my opinion, I think that's what holds a lot of people back. It's that early programming of limitation. And I think once you have the capacity and the focus to drown that out, you can do everything you want to do. But it's an uphill climb.
It is. But, what I've noticed, and I don't know if this is a generalization amongst the population, but when you're going for something that you want to do, like a dream or a job or whatever it is, you're going to be met with resistance in one form or another, and people will often take that as a sign that, well, I shouldn't be doing it, but yet others will go, heck with that. That's just a minor setback. Let's keep going.
That's right. I think you touched on something very important. I think everyone needs to understand the bigger the dream, the greater intensity of the opposition. It's just that way. There's forces that oppose, and whenever you're trying to do good things for yourself and other people, you're going to have opposition. So one of the things you can do is start to train yourself to anticipate that. I think if you position yourself in denial, well, no, it should go like this. It's going to go like this. It's not. It's not supposed to go anyway. Anything can come up and anything will come up. But if you've trained yourself to say, I expect, these gale force winds to try to blow me off the map, it's not going to happen. See, then you meet it from a position of power and strength, and you've already won half the battle. So you're right, that opposition is going to come.
It is, and I think what's kind of a key thing is to sit down and make out a list of possibilities of oppositions. When I first years ago, I started an internet marketing business, and I sold horse training information, and I was not a horse trainer, and I was doing very well with it. And one of the things I used to do was send out daily horse training tips. And I didn't really know much about horse training. I just basically regurgitated what I was learning as I went. Yeah. And what was interesting was I was getting the information from people who I consulted with who've been training horses for 20 or 30 years. That's all they do. And people would write me back and say, oh, my God, I'd never do that. That's so mean, or whatever. And what I discovered after the smoke cleared was when you put yourself out there in public, even just a little bit, you're a target.
Yep.
And can you imagine, like, being the president of the United States, half of the people are going to be mad at you. You're going to be a target. And so the more you're out there, the bigger targets you're going to be. And so I didn't know that at the time, but now that I know it, as I pursue other things, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's going to happen. So like what you're saying, create a list of things that could happen, read your book by golly and find out what else could happen and get yourself prepared.
Right. Actually, that was your suggestion. I like it. Create the list. Be prepared and train yourself to anticipate. And when you anticipate, there are no surprises. Don't allow yourself to be surprised in the climate that we're living in. And really that, again, it takes practice. It's training yourself, even if it's just start with 5 seconds. I can't do a whole 10 minutes. Well, start somewhere. Start with 5 seconds to get quiet with yourself and center yourself so your energy is not willy-nilly out here. And you can sit in a mode of anticipation, hopefully positive anticipation, but understanding that there's a lot of beautiful things that come your way and can happen, but there's curveballs too.
Sure. And, a lot of people aren't going to come up with an exhaustive list, and the thing they could do is find business people they respect and buy them lunch and say, what things should I watch out for?
Yeah, it goes back to relationship. I've been blessed with a number of fantastic mentors, and there's people out here who have been through it. They would welcome a conversation with you. You can tap into their experience and knowledge base. You can avoid a lot of pitfalls, gain a ton of wisdom along the way. And I'm always surprised at just how little folks use the readily available resources. There's lots of wisdom everywhere. It's just, again, slow yourself down to see it and to connect to it.
Right. Well, I'm really encourage people to read your book because I think that would be an enormous help. And Sheila, thank you so much for sharing with us what goes on in your life when you're doing public speaking, how you're helping people and such. That was a fascinating ride into what you do.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.